don't touch JavaScript, your client will suck anyhow. Okay? Now you can select how hard it will be to generate this client, which won't be good anyhow. But the right solution is, yeah, okay, go hire a JavaScript developer. It will do the magic on the client side, and you do the server side. Provide the API, and that's all.
Yeah. So I guess the proper answer, if you want to cute user interface, just look for some other not Java. Yeah. I mean on client side.
Third-party tools.
But it's true for all the backend languages. It's the same with .NET.
Yeah,
it's the same with Scala. It's the same with whatever. It's the same with Groovy.
But
You can write wonderful application in Grails. All the finishes you will do in pure JavaScript on the client side.
But yes, I know, but I think
create translator such as GWT native translator.
It works to some extent because the languages are not the same.
Yeah.
If the languages were the same, probably you won't need JavaScript.
But Google made that. Why Oracle don't make that?
Have anybody hacked the GWT code? Like real GWT code?
Real.
Yeah, I already
Actually, it's possible. Everything possible.
application.
Unfortunately, JavaScript is the only way to do good client side.
yes, because of this, we have in Java world this phenomenon that we have front-end developers and back-end developers.
It has nothing to do with Java work. It's true for every possible language.
Other languages very often develop client-side and server-side.
No,
For
this is
example,
not true. Those are different types of skills. Good Scala developer won't give you good JavaScript UI. It won't happen. The same with .NET, the same with Grails, the same with everything.
I guess it's a big mistake of customers to look for some client-side and server-side developers at the same time.
Those are different
Not a
skills.
good idea.
Different set of skills.
Yes, for sure.
Different people.
Preferably to have two developers in one.
One question to the guy from the Spring Source. So you were mentioning in your presentation about your plans for Spring Force, and your plan is to make Groovy like a primary language for developing apps based on Spring framework. So, well, Groovy exists for like 10 years already, right? Its adoption, from what I know, I'm not an expert in this topic, but from what I've heard, its adoption, its global adoption, is quite questionable to the moment. So, how do you plan to do that? I mean, to make Java developers worldwide start writing their apps in Groovy, because it's quite a.
We don't try to make all developers write.
No, I mean you're saying that Groovy would be the primary language for developing Spring apps, right?
Natural extension of Spring's framework support. We in no case drop Java support or whatever. I mean,
Sure.
Spring Source remains a Java-based oriented framework, and it adds a support and gives you an option to develop application in the future, in the next release to a certain extent, and afterwards more, to develop application in Groovy, starting from the very beginning as a primary language. This is an option that you can choose. So you probably ask, why did Spring selected Groovy as a language, as a JVM language for expanding its support?
Well, it's obvious. It's because Groovy has been developed under the umbrella of Spring Source, so it's your language.
Well, being very passionate about Groovy, I can tell you that most of the Java developers, all they need to adopt Groovy is to see it in action.
I know, because I love Groovy.
Exactly. So Spring Source is one of those bodies that can introduce Groovy to Java developers, and then I think the adoption will spike.
Oh, so here comes the climax of my question, actually, because this move, it looked like a bit of has some sort of political side, because it's your technology, it's your framework. So you and the ultimate plan is to
take over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is always the ultimate plan, right?
Each company tries to take over.
Yeah, this is the ultimate
So
plan. Yeah.
Everybody wants it.
No, it makes perfect sense, right? They have good language, they have good visibility. Why not to push this language? I'm into it. That sounds like a good plan.
But some small parts of this plan, so you have like, because currently it looks like just a tagline that you have on the top of your site that okay, from now on everybody starts writing, the preferred way of writing Java Spring apps is Groovy. Okay, but maybe you do some steps like starting to make some screencasts in Groovy, I don't know, like code examples being written in Groovy, I don't know.
This all exists.
I think Groovy has documentation in 10 years. Like you can read up. And what applied to Spring?
Sure. This Groovy and Rails community is very good, mature, very let's say active, and actually the development there is very active and probably maybe well it's for Spring it's all about like delivering a performance in development like making you your time to market for application shorter, like quicker release, good working application. And
it's
and
easier to do with Groovy, right?
Yeah. So this is why. And the community is brilliant. The language adds such lot of things. I'm not a great Groovy expert, I must say, but adds so much additions and nice things, features, on top of Java, and the community actually controls that features. They can improve language, not waiting, for instance, for Java modification for Java 8, and they had closures from the very beginning.
And the closures still look better than the closures in Java 8. So
yeah, something like that. And yeah, I lost my thread.
yeah, but this is the idea. They have the language, they have the adoption. Why not to try to push it, right?
And examples and how to build it. There are tons of presentations.
No, but let's say for now, all the official documentation you read about Spring Framework, all the examples are in Java, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
so once you change that,
sure, but this is where we're moving. I mean, this is not something that exists now.
Yes,
this is
right.
We're talking about
This is the plan.
Spring 4. Will not end with Spring 4 because Spring Framework 4 because it will continue to some degree further the development of let's say closer integration. Java 8 is not yet out, yeah, and how for instance closures of Java 8 will integrate with Groovy language. How that interoperations between Java let's say or code calling Groovy code and backwards, it's not stabilized or well, they think about it, and there are partial acceptance of that, which will come. Let's say you will receive like support for certain features, like for instance building a context in Groovy in Spring 4, and afterwards, especially after Java 8 is out, and it will be adopted very quickly.
And we have very good examples of community trying to push Groovy instead of what they have. Two of the most prominent ones are Jenkins. You can write Jenkins UI for your plugins in Groovy now. So how they do it? You go to the documentation and you see all documentation in Groovy. And then you have a small button, take me back to the XML help, and it shows you the XML. And the same exactly is with Logbag and the SLF4J. All the configuration examples are in Groovy. You have a button, take me back to the XML help. Right, so, and this is how they try to push it, and this is a good way.
Yeah, it could work.
It will.
Thank you.
So many years ago, it has been an application, Vinam. It was good for playing music, and then they started to extend it, probably add some functionality. So Vinam started to write disks, have browser building, something other stuff, and enum that. So it was narrow. Other applications that did the same, and also that now. And my personal opinion is that Java is going the same way, because so it was started probably from generics. So idea is brilliant, and I like the positive things, so advantages. But the Java wasn't designed for this type of coding. So
what, you're talking about closures?
Closures also. So it ends with lambda. So now we have like example from your code default interfaces. So it's some madness as for me. So is it I'm going crazy or just Java?
It shouldn't be, like, my opinion, it shouldn't be used externally.
Yeah, I know, but it exists. Why?
The main problem is
because of tons of code.
Yeah,
we'd
no,
like to support.
I know. The question is not why it exists. I understand why it appears. The question is why Java tries to bring all good stuff in the world in a language.
I think I can answer your question. So there are two types of of getting additional stuff on board. You can do it like Winamp did. Well, we should also have a browser. Okay, let's do a browser. And there is natural evolution that you have to involve in order to stay current. And lambdas is a very good example of the later, because once the Moore law is dead, and now the CPUs aren't go any faster, and we start with massive concurrency, you cannot write performant code without having closures. This is very simple, so because you need to abstract.
It's only one possible way to grow.
Yeah, well, this is with lambdas is very simple. You need to abstract what loop does from how it loops. The only way to do it is lambdas.
So
you have to
like functional.
What do you suggest?
I do not suggest anything. I asked him. Is it something
about old stuff, and invent new language?
What about support of the previous?
We cannot break backwards compatibility. It's very simple. We cannot do it.
But Oracle have another example when we have JavaFX 1.2, now named JavaFX script, and JavaFX 2.0. This another full another language.
I think that Java, the comparing maturity and the guarantees that Oracle make of JavaFX and Java, it's not fair. Right, because when you go to JavaFX even now, and sorry Alexander, you are going into an adventure, right? You're not sure how mature it is, will it catch up, won't it catch up? You are in an adventure and you know it and you acknowledge it. But if you select Java now, you select something that is a stone. You know for sure it will work for centuries, this is going to be the next COBOL, and you will get support forever. You cannot make compatibility there.
Starting writing production application on Java 2, JavaFX 2, then what guarantee then in Java 3, Fix 3, I will have another, completely another technology.
The story about JavaFX started in Sun, and the idea was to compete with Flash. Yeah. And we just keep the name, however it's different technology. And the purpose of that technology is different. And the area of usage of that technology is different.
So you said that the way when we choose other production company, when they say we are supporting version higher than X, and all written earlier is not working anymore. It's not Java way, and it's better to do this type of craziness.
But how can you do it with Java? Java is not one of the biggest virtues of Java is the backward compatibility and the guarantees.
What is the bigger or higher risk probably?
No,
so
but
it's
if
higher risk to lose 20%. I don't know how.
But where you are going to go? You are going to go to Scala. That's fine. It's still a JVM. It's JVM. That's fine.
Example Ruby. So somewhere around like 1-2 weeks ago, Ruby 2.0 was out. So Ruby 1.8 is no longer supported. There is huge syntax differences between 1.8 and 2.0, and 1.9 will be abandoned in a few years' time. Plus the transition. So so they said we'll throw it out. We just tell it so. So you should be ready.
Yep.
Plus, and example is there was a huge and pretty serious bug in Rails, and there are tons of sites which still didn't update it. So there is so this, even if this the moving target that someday you need to update, like you have a Oracle and you have 20 guys which do you don't know what, and your company, maybe your life depends on what they do. So there is differences.
I guess you can stay with Java 5 on this.
So basically, there is less
So it's
risk.
for people who not want to update.
So yes. There is less risk that Oracle
No,
will
this
do
is
mistake.
exactly vice versa. You can update for sure. This is exactly vice versa.
So
You can take Ruby if you don't plan to update, because the update will probably, you will have to throw away all whatever you did. So when you take Ruby.1, you know that you are going to stay with Ruby.1 forever, because Ruby 1.2 won't work. With Java, it's exactly vice versa. Go and update, it will work. This is the promise.
I understand what Java is doing. I'm asking, so since I don't know numbers, I don't know if it's 5 or 25% people who will not want to update, so adopt new changes in language.
Don't
Maybe
make
it's
new
just
changes in
5%, and all of them say, okay, when Java is changed and we need to update our source, we will do it.
Yeah. So
maybe it's 5%.
the idea is you don't like closures, don't use closures. You eventually will use them because the performance will bite you, but until then, don't use them. Use Java 8, use the fastest JVM ever available, don't use closures. Eventually you will, but for now you don't like them, they look strange for you, get used to them for 2 years, for 3 years, whatever it will take you to adopt them. Yeah. That's fine.
I guess it's just different strategies. So.
And one comment about the features like multi-tenancy, blah blah blah. So from one end, Oracle introduces new features, and from another end, there is work on modularity. So if you don't use multi-tenancy, if you don't use core whatever, which is still there, separate module, you don't use it. So there is work in a parallel happening to make it more modular. So if there are features which is company works on it, that you don't use it.
So let's wait Java 8 until we go with modular.
I'm not sure what's it's in 8.
Next
in
9. Let's talk about next question.
Yeah.
Yeah. One more question, which is not technical, to Russell. I understand that the focus of companies like SoftServe is to provide services to their clients. But at the same time, I sometimes wonder how having more than 2,000 employees, you do not dedicate a small fraction of that work power to maybe develop your own products and projects.
I have this discussion all the time. I was having this discussion 3 or 4 days ago. We have a lot of really smart people, and some of these really smart people, when we're billing them at their hourly rate, that's actually not a particularly excellent utilization of what those people could really be doing. So we, it's probably not well known, but we actually have a framework in open source Java for building SaaS apps very rapidly. It's got an entire skeleton built. It's got a multi-tenancy framework, multiple security models. In infrastructure operations, we are a very differentiated company compared to all the other big players. We have around 100 infrastructure operations engineers, 4 full-time DevOps architects, and we have open source framework around Zabbix, Nagios, Chef, and Puppet to do operations infrastructure automation. continuous delivery, and we're doing more like that. So we have ambitious plans to create more software components, more software frameworks, and other area that's where we're investing right now is in predictive analytics and business intelligence and big data. So I think we've seen the light. It takes a little while for our organizational culture to shift and mindset to shift, but it's pretty much the main reason why I come to Lviv like 8 times a year is because we're trying to make that transition.
Actually, I would argue to Andrei that I know that outsource company every time has some bench, kind of bench. It means some people don't have any job for the time, and that people as usual develop something, and unfortunately that something is extremely pure and bad as usual. So it's quite strange for me because I don't understand why. And
no, because they shift all the time? No. Because the people on the bench are different all the time?
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't matter actually.
Yes.
It is.
Matter, but not so huge as you told. So at least it should be.
If you throw a new developer in this project every 2 weeks, the quality will be poor.
It's
not if you're on the bench for a long time, you will not work in that company for a long time.
Yeah, we had example when students develop like their coursework some software, and that software it was. Really
but it was really their project. They worked on it from the beginning to the end.
They developed it like 3 months and then release and next courses to do it and so on. A few steps of different students to do it and to do it really well. But on software companies, it's kind of in Russian supporting the support. So
no, it's not that bad.
It's not that, maybe it's not that bad, but it's usual.
Comments. I think this is not just about the Logica and other companies. So some of the companies are actually product companies. So for people, developers, QA who work at these companies, it's just like Logica Software who provides the office, but in the reality we work for a product company. So there are lots of projects like this.
Yeah.
It's just like they have much higher expectation from the skills. So that's a continuation of the question about whether you can work for a world company from Lviv. Yes, you can. Most of the outsourcing companies actually have a pretty, not like huge, but big number of product companies. So for you, it doesn't matter. You just go to the office of like outsourcing company, but then you work for a product company. That's one thing. Another thing, like at least medium-sized companies, and especially big company has a council of R&D, like at Lake we have Lake Labs. So there are work done, dedicated work longer than 2 weeks. That person is allocated to this work, but still like the core business is like to sell services, products, so it will not last for long.
Exactly. If it lasts too long, you just let this guy go.
For us it's average from 1 to 2 months, and that's it, and usually that's enough, like to do what we expect. It's not like 2 weeks, it's not half a year, and the expectations from the skills is even higher, because this person is not the technical level. It's about whether this person can work autonomously, whether this person can communicate, no job discipline issues, this kind of stuff. So it's more that not companies block this, it's that it's not that many people who can work in this mode. So that's what limits the companies with doing this kind of stuff.
Actually, I cannot agree, because I remember on
I'm leading one,
in
so
3 months we developed really amazing product. Really, in 3 months. Just during the one summer we developed amazing software, and it was success, really success in production and so on. But the same amount of people in the same amount of time, but on like reserve, don't produce it. Really, they do it but don't produce it.
Yeah, but the reason that people on the bench is because you didn't manage to sell this guy. If you didn't manage to sell this guy to your customer, probably he is not the best guy to write your product.
Yeah, but here's the thing I thought you were asking is, I think the companies here that are in the outsourcing business and have built amazing products for other product companies have the ability to do that. We've proven that. At what point do you take a risk? At what point do you invest in the idea that people who formerly felt bad for being on the bench and were given development assignments while they were on the bench just to do something, are now actually assigned to a product or a framework initiative because it's strategic and because it will help you grow and because it's good. And that's a question I thought you were asking me. And within SoftServe, it's a cultural shift. It's not a technical issue. It's not a financial issue. It's an issue of the way we think about our opportunities and the way we approach it from a cultural standpoint.
So you say it's not even financial?
No, it's not financial. It's not technical, it's not financial. It's like company culture. It's like, can we agree to take the risk? Can we get consensus amongst the right people that, okay, this is an area you want to go after? Well, we wrote the most kick-ass identity and access management solution in healthcare. Amazing solution. You know what? We should have an IAM platform. Or you know what? We just wrote this unbelievable email security engine for this other client. You know what? It's those kind of decisions.
And actually, Artifactory began in a services company. All of us were used to work for a consulting company, and in some point we managed to produce a product that made the company shift from being a consulting company to being a product company. But this is not. It's not a common thing to do.
Yeah. So why? Why is not common sense?
Well, because in our case it was two of our best people wrote the code, and this was because in some period we feel that there is this pain of all the customers that we can step into. It was a strategic decision. It's not like, okay, we'll try to write something. This was, okay, now we're concentrating on the product that will solve a pain of the customers. And we like put all the rest of the things aside, and we put away, we drop a lot of money by doing it, and then next thing we had a product that actually we could sell. So it's a cultural and it's strategical decision.
Another example, well, maybe not naming the names, but for instance, like what happened once in spring. There is a block once this week in spring, and like consultant comes to a big company, explains them what they might do at all. They start thinking and suddenly realize such a big amount of features and let's say what they could request in that field. The consultant codes something, and that becomes such a big project that the complete solution development gets dedicated to that. Starts let's say developing a real project to sell. This is how the ideas.
So the common thing here is that it all comes from a need, right? It's not like one day you decide, okay, I'll write a product. It starts with a need of your customers, and you being a consultant is aware of this need because you come to the customer and feel his pain and know what could be the sweet spot for your application.
But I'm sure that there are such reasons when you run such a big company. Like when you have 2,000 and something employees and you have hundreds of clients, I'm sure there are reasons to opportunities to develop your own projects.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Not necessary. Like, so there are, but like there are different views on the companies, different views on the customers, different customer types, different like startups, person, there are, but usually it's not about the technology, it's about the business. Yeah. So, and from business side, lots of projects look very differently than from the technology side.
But from developer's point of view, it's like waste of resources because a lot of persons do nothing, really nothing.
Like
no, but this is not a good reason to start the product.
Kind of.
Yeah. Why it's not a good reason? Because from business point of view, using the latest technology is always very, very bad. Because it's not proven, it's better. It's lots of reasons why it's not. And from engineers' point of view, why we cannot use the latest technology. It's up until like the story today. in 6 months they will know that actually it's not ready yet, and a few top people left the job, millions of dollars were wasted because of the engineering error. So